spawning in the east of the Mediterranean, playing as the English. It is MODRIC in the color pink. What a lovely English color. Spawning in as the red on the western side of the Mediterranean. Playing as China, it is Baltune. Both of these players obviously going for an early dock. And if we know anything from Mediterranean and the copious amount of games, especially really high-level games that are played on Mediterranean, obviously all of these deep water fish are the most important entity on this map. This map looks like, just based on the mini-map itself, only about 35 to 40-ish% water. I'd say more so on the 35. But because of how good these deep water fish are, you know that the mainstay of their games is going to be that Baltune noticing that, making the scout pull out its torch, and honestly, that's just a power move. That dock is not going to be at full strength when it actually gets built, and MODRIC's going to have to look at that for the rest of the game, so we'll see if his ego is shattered. By that at 1735 out of 1750, how dare he? China coming out with the first fishing boat, Baltune, just because China is able to build a little bit quicker. And as our Dark Age is matriculating into Feudal Age, I guess we could talk about a little bit as to why the civilizations that I mentioned before are so good on this map. China and English being two of them. HRE, Rus probably rounding out the top four if I had to rank them, and a lot of it is because of, one, having a good wood economy, as English necessarily doesn't have something that increases them on economic prowess, but more so on the boats themselves being a little bit cheaper, having 67 wood, and with some of the dock upgrades like Admiralty, increasing range for some of those units. Having that +1 range is huge, and making sure the micro is there for MODRIC could make Chinese have a bad time. On the other side, as we have a nice herd escorting themselves to the starting town center. With China, it's all about having an IO, which you see the Imperial official going to get over to this lumber camp, and instead of dropping off 10, as you see these villagers do with the IO, they will drop off 12. It seems that the IO can not only turn water into wine, but turn that wood into more wood. And obviously having that extra wood economy is really going to help the Chinese do things like build more docks, add more ships, and all of that kind of thing. English on the other side, just because of the decreased cost, could make it so we have an even amount of ships on either side in Feudal Age. So let's see how this goes when both of these players start going up. And I want to talk a little bit about, just because this is the first time we've played on Mediterranean, just a little bit of why they're doing this in the first place, why the water is so good, why this is a powerhouse of a build and a powerhouse of a strategy. This dock, acting like a second town center in Dark Age, obviously invaluable to your later Feudal Age, early Castle Age economy. And because of their gathering speed and how quickly you can get this dock up, it means that your other villagers back home don't have to focus on food as a resource. And as we see here on these sheep, not that much. We have 11 and 11 for food, and obviously that's marking in fishing boats as well. But as you can see, a couple villagers over here on some sheep, and here only about 2 or 3, whereas instead they're able to focus on the other 2 resources in the game that matter. What I do like about this naval change that happened in the start of Season 3-ish is that you can use all of your resources in order to build some of these naval units. The junk, 90 food. The food's important. The war junk, 120 food. The food is important. Not that much in the way of gold, except when you get into the explosive category. And we'll see in Feudal Age the rock, paper, scissors matchup that goes with the arrow ships, the springled ships, and the incendiary ships, the explosive ships. Going forward now, Baltune, because of that dock economy, or because of that wood economy, excuse me, able to put a second dock over here to the south. Obviously, MODRIC scouted that. He will know that that second dock is there, and a little bit undefended. So we'll see if he's able to capitalize on that. Baltune going with the Imperial Academy for Feudal Age. Getting some IOs pumping out so he doesn't have to out of his town center. On the other side, MODRIC with the Council Hall. Not going to do that much in the water. I don't think longbowmen know how to swim. They spend their entire lives with a bow. That bow is certainly not going to help them float. So these land units, as he's producing just a couple of them, might be able to cause some raiding going on the land side while these navies are starting to develop. And getting that little bit of villager idle time is going to be huge if he's able to pull that off correctly. Now we see a little bit of rock in the way of the war junk coming up against a little bit of scissors on that archer ship. And we're seeing how quickly that galley gets shredded by this war junk. And this normal junk just having a little bit of fun with these arrows. Now MODRIC with a terrible spawn. I didn't have time to mention this as we went to Dark Age because I was rambling about other nonsense. But MODRIC on the west side, this gold vein is so close to his docks. This is not a gold that he's going to be able to take out of reliably. And as you see, these war junks just raining havoc on some of these fishing boats. But first, Hulk, in the way of the English player, starts to get a first fire on one of those war junks. And now Baltune starting to notice that, sees the rock, wants to add a little bit of paper with that explosive junk, trying to rain some hell on some of these hulks and on these docks if they're able to get good ones. Now, this junk just having this hulk focused on a lot of these springled ships and a demo ship coming in for the English player. Let's see if he's able to get a good piece of that hulk or that war junk, and it does. At 19 health, explosive junk going to be able to take a look at that hulk and say, well, see you later, bud. Make it a couple more shipwrecks. And now this explosive junk trying to find some of these fishing ships. Now remember, just because of how much damage it can do, at only 95, it can't really take down a fishing boat immediately. If they were damaged a little bit, it would be easier. But Baltune's really raining havoc on MODRIC's fishing economy right now. That demo ship not being microed, and that is huge. That's so much resources that are just floating at the bottom of the sea, sinking like an anchor. MODRIC trying to go more in the land route, adding a barracks with a spearman, adding longbowmen out of the council hall, trying to get some kind of land thing going because he knows on sea he's kind of as good as toast. And all these fishing boats are getting wrapped up. And on the other side, you can see China's fishing economy rather untouched, with economic count 47 to 37 in favor of Baltune. And you can see just based on the food per minute why this water is a big deal. Baltune actually having the extra resources to make some Chinese horsemen. However, these villagers, for the English having their short bow, made that horseman take an arrow to the knee and go down. But having that little bit idle time is important to make sure he can't get back to the sea if he wants to. And now that there's no fishing boats, now we take a look over here. Now we see how many villagers he has to spend on food economy. He's got 12 over here. He's got 3 building farms. He needs wood to make farms. He needs wood to make boats. But MODRIC looks like on this side just giving up on the naval side of things, which I can completely understand. You know, you have 1 or 2 demo ships that maybe aren't microed correctly. And as you take a look, 72 wood, 72 gold. If both of them don't get any real damage, then you're just sending all of those resources down to the bottom of the sea. And now he's escalating. Baltune is to the castle age with the astronomical clock tower, just because of how good that fishing economy is. Look how many boats are out here. I count, let's see, there's 11. We've got another 10 here, 21, 23 total fishing boats. Added a third dock as well. And based on the food economy that Baltune has, you can obviously see how big of a deficit MODRIC is really in. And the score difference probably, to be honest, does a good job of portraying that. Sometimes the score is a little bit buggy. But a score of 2,000 to 1,300 in favor of MODRIC, almost double the economic count. And now with that astronomical clock tower built, what's he going to do with these barracks? Pump out palace guards. The ability to get some of those palace guards, they do have a little bit less armor than normal men-at-arms, but for the English player, especially in feudal age, men-at-arms are something that they struggle with. Because these men-at-arms, number one, aren't upgraded. Number two, if they did come out, would be of the early variety. So it would be rather difficult. Palace guards, on the other hand, with that little extra mobility at 1.38 tiles per second, able to chase down some of those longbowmen that were slower, and of how good they are against spearmen. As you can see with those spearmen going down. And these longbowmen not having the ranged damage upgrade, they're getting hit with marshmallows. They can do this all day. And because of the economy that Baltune has, look at how many production buildings he has. 1, 2, 3, 4 barracks pumping out palace guards. With 1,400 food per minute in favor of Baltune, he's able to pump palace guards until the cows come home. A 5th barracks, jeez. The UI was disguising the 5th barracks for me. I didn't even see it. Does have a stable as well, I guess, for those little bit of feudal horsemen, but now doesn't necessarily need it, but does have the resources if he wanted to make a knight or two. He would have the ability to. English knows they're on the back foot, trying to wall over here on the western side. Never going to be able to get this wall just because of the ships. They're perfectly placed by Baltune. Can we just talk about the foreshadowing that Baltune actually had, making sure this area was not walled? So now, these palace guards coming in with a defensive white tower, and a lot of the times I say a defensive white tower is essentially a white flag for the English going up to Castle Age. They're not going to get that economic benefit of that second town center because they can't. How many palace guards are here? And these longbowmen, even on the south end, are not getting taken down by these palace guards. They're taken down by ships that are just patrolling, that are just standing there on the opposite side. So at the same time, this town center with its MG42 machine gun shooting BB pellets at that palace guard, death by 1,000 paper cuts, ends up being taken down. This white tower, oh no. He's very indecisive on actually getting that white tower up. Some villagers moving in opposite places. If this does go up, at what cost? As we see economic count 79 to 37, military count 48 to 5. This white tower is not going to save you. And it looks like all of the palace guards are congregating over here on the west side, making sure MODRIC keeps getting that idle time. And idle time it is. There are 36 villagers, 35 are idle. This is the only villager that is working in the English Empire right now. And because of that, MODRIC has to call it in Castle Age. And this is a very stereotypical Mediterranean, where you lost water, you lost the game. Or I should say in Baltune's case, you won water, you won the game. And you can see that actually the most important statistic that I want to jump to. I want to see totals. Yep. Is how much resources they gathered during the game. Baltune's fish economy, untouched. 9,000 food compared to 5. Wood economy, untouched with not that much idle time. And the IO, 8k to 3.5. Gold, on the other side, having those villagers to be on gold instead of worrying about a food economy that the fish are being, or that the fishing boats are taken care of. Gold count 4.4k to 1.2. So you can see that difference about how important water is. And I know a lot of people complain that water might be a little too strong. But a lot of times you got to play the hand you're dealt. You got to play the map you're on. And MODRIC tried the best he could.
We want to thank our MetaPlace website subscribers. Your contribution helps us keep the project sustainable. As we reach higher subscription goals, you are helping us cover more and more behind-the-scenes costs, such as video editing. Check out our subscription page using the link in the description, and remember to collect your perks. We will see you the next time.